The main character trend started earlier this year, at least from where I am, and I don't think it's coincidental that it happened around the time when lots of people felt out of control. You know, lots of people felt like life was happening to them. And if you're one of those people, you might be wondering, how can I take charge of my life? How can I be at the helm of affairs of my life? And in this video, I intend to talk about how to be the main character using fiction writing principles. Today I'm going to be talking about how to be the main character of your life. It's a very popular topic on YouTube, and I've seen a lot of videos about it, and many of them have been really insightful, and I wanted to give my own perspective using one of the things I love the most, which is fiction writing. I want to use some fiction writing principles to tell us how we can live lives as the main character. But before I go on, I just wanted to put it out there that most of us are the main characters. Most of us live our lives like the main character of our lives, because I feel like most of us, if not all, are living life and writing our stories. From our perspective, we cannot see more than our own perspective, and in that way we're living lives as a main character because we only see our own perspective. Most people cannot, like, apart from the empaths, cannot, and even the empaths, I believe, are limited, in the way they can assimilate other people's stories, in the way they can, like, fit their foot into other people's stories. I feel like even they are a bit limited, but for the most part, most of us are living lives as the main character. And I know that sounds a bit contradictory, but the major point I want to make here is I just want to tell us, using fictional principles, how we can live a more like rounded life. And I'm coming from someone who is quite introverted, and coming from someone who is quite, like, into themselves. It's quite ironic, but here I am on YouTube, so that is a step in the right direction. And before I go on, I want to point out that before we live life, as the main character, before we embody the story, we have to first accept that each of us, by our action or inaction, we're writing a story. We're telling a story about ourselves, our lives, about action or inaction. And true, sometimes things happen to us, but how we react to those things is what makes the story. What makes for a great story. So if we want to live more rounded lives, more full lives, I believe that knowing some fictional principles can, like, some fiction writing principles, can help us live a more interesting, full, enriched life, a richer life, to have a richer life. So the 7 basic plots is basically belief that no matter the type of story you're telling, all of them falls within this 7 basic plots, which is either overcoming the monster. So usually there's this external evil force that you need to overcome, or rags to riches, which is like the typical Cinderella story, and the quest, going on some adventure, to get something, which is usually external, but ends up at the end of the story, the character finds out that, oh, I have this wealth of inner traits in me that I didn't know I possessed. And there's a voyage and return, and then there's comedy, there's tragedy, and there's rebirth. Your story doesn't have to be one or the other. I believe that we can merge them. Maybe something tragic has happened to you, and then it turns out that from this tragedy you can morph into, like, a story of rebirth, of finding yourself. So it depends on what story do you want to tell yourself, what story do you want to tell with your life. What story you need to know, in order to be the main character, you need to know the story that you want to tell. Where are you in your life right now? What story have you like been living, and what story do you want to tell? So if you've been like someone who maybe your story is like, maybe you have been in this stage, let's use the overcoming the monster and illustrates, in a way. Let's say you are like this person who is like, too into yourself. I don't know why I use into yourself to be like reserved, as a synonym for reserved. You're too reserved. So at work, maybe like people are oppressing you, people are taking advantage of you. That could be your overcoming the monster. It doesn't have to be like this great big monster. It could be something really small. But you need to know the story that you want to tell. You need to know the story that you want to tell, so that you know how to arch your story, you know how to guide your story to the desired end that you want to achieve. It could be rags to riches, which is, I believe, like most people want rags to riches story. But it doesn't just happen. You don't just sit down and then riches are bestowed upon you. At this point in my life, the story I want to tell myself is the quest. I don't know what I'm going to find, but I just want to go on this journey. It doesn't have to be like a physical journey, but it is a journey where I push myself gradually from my comfort zone to the great unknown, to see what is out there. So that's the story I'm going to be telling myself. Return and the voyage, and I think this, and the voyage and the quest, I think that it can be mingled. So as I've said before, it doesn't have to be, your story doesn't have to be, one or the other. It could start out as something else, something, and build and then morph into another. So that's what I think. I don't know if you've gotten I don't know if this has helped you in any way, but I believe I'm going to make a series about this. But for the most part, I believe that in order to be the main character of your story, you need to know what story you've been writing all this while, and what story you hope to write. What story do you hope to, what story do you eventually hope to write, and how can you get there? Has something tragic happened to you? How can you morph it, into something, more? Do you need to go on some sort of quest to discover yourself? Are you feeling like you are too influenced, like you've lost yourself, due to what life has thrown at you, and maybe you've lost yourself due to like hiding who you truly are, morphing and changing into what people want. Another important fact to note, if you want to be the main character, is that every character has a want. This is something that most fiction writers know and they employ. If you have a character without a want, it makes for a very lackluster story. So your character must want something. I read this article once that said your character must want something very intensely, even if it's a glass of water. So what do you want? In order to be the main character, you need to know what you want. What is it that you want? Do you want to like pass an exam? Do you want to have affluence? Do you want to have like whatever it is you want? What do you want? In the fiction writing world, most times the wants of the characters are external things. And if you really examine yourself, you find out that most of our wants are kind of external, And this is not to shoot down externalities, because they are also important, But what do you want? So you need to examine what it is you want, and then go on this journey to accomplish it, And then in order to, most times by the time the story resolves, the character really finds out that sometimes their wants are not always like, sometimes their wants are not synonymous or parallel to their needs. They might set out wanting money, and then they find out that, or wealth, and then they find out that what they really need underneath that want is their actual need. So keep this in mind when you go on your quest to accomplish your wants, and be open to learning the lessons that this journey is going to teach you. So you can go out seeking, like now starting this channel, my wants my external wants, so to speak. Like my wants, like I want to be monetized, I wanna get so amount of followers and views and all that. But underneath that want is the need, which is like internal security. By having this want, it helps you achieve. Sometimes also, as I've said before, that the wants and the needs are not always synonymous, but sometimes they are quite like the opposite sides of the same coin. So for myself now, starting this channel, it's a journey. I want to get monetized, I want to do this and that, but underneath that want is the actual need, a need, like, and there's this need for security. Because if you're monetized and you have this need, you have this need met of financial security in a way. And then apart from that, you can also have, like, you can also build immense, like, fulfilling relationships, like with your audience. So that is my need. I'm very aware of that, but you might not be aware of yours, or you might. Well, going on this journey is very important to understand your wants versus your needs. What do you want and what is it that you need? And when you get there to the end of the journey, you would know that you've gotten there. Because it's one thing to embark on a journey, and it's another thing to know that you've gotten to where you're going. So that's what I think that we should keep in mind. I hope this was quite insightful, and if it was, then stick around, because I think I'll be making a series on this particular topic. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful week. Bye.